So this video is going to be more of like a video biography in a sense. I'm going to let everybody that decides to watch these videos or takes an interest or anything in this and finds them, as you know, really it's not like I advertise this shit. So anyone finds them and takes interest in them, then this video is going to be more of a biography of my life story from when I was itty bitty till now. So I was born to Kenton Elizabeth Woods. I am their firstborn son. I do have an older sister. She's from my mom's first marriage. My dad's always treated her like his daughter. Like there's no difference. My sister considers my dad her dad. So, like as far as I was concerned, I had an older sister, not firstborn. I wasn't firstborn. Um, Even though I actually am the firstborn son of my mother and father. Um, and I was born in 1984, and at home, I don't remember, who really remembers when they're born, but even in stories, I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it's Buckhead that I was born in. Not 100% on it. You know, it's not really a fact that's concerned me much. It's not like any of us get a choice in being born. We're kind of all just thrown into the world, and hey, you're alive. So that's kind of where I normally don't celebrate my birthday, but to me, birth is like a forced topic. It's not like you get a choice. Um, but yeah, I had a younger brother and two younger sisters as well. There was five of us we grew up, and I grew up in one of the more like chaotic households of America, where you know they're really just doing what they can to hold it together. Alcohol and drugs were a big part of parents' life and parents before them, and uncles and aunts and all sorts of different people through the family tree. Like addiction and mental illness is something that's on both sides of my parents' family, my mom and my dad's. And I was 16 by the time that my dad actually got sober. My mom, she wasn't really, she had five kids she was taking care of, so it's not a lot of free time she had to get, you know, wasted or anything. She would drink every now and then, and especially as like we were getting older, she would drink every so often again. But she never really got super the crazy in me, but mom's always the one we went to. Whenever I was a little kid, my dad was an alcoholic and drug addict, where we didn't really go to dad about anything. When I was really younger, I have some memories, and I have some awesome memories of my dad and stuff, doing stuff with him, and certain things. I don't remember everything we always did, but I have very, very fond memories of doing stuff with him and some of his friends, going fishing, and we always did a garden, and we chopped a bunch of trees up that we got every year. He brought us to the races. We went to Dixie Speedway all the time. Like, I mean, we did a lot of fun stuff and everything. But anyone that grows like has dealt with alcoholism and certain things, you can't really talk to an alcoholic about stuff. Like they get more defensive, and they like, especially your kid or younger one bringing up certain things or asking questions. It's never taken the right way. When you're under the influence of something, it's hard to take things the right way, period, in my opinion. um, there's a lot of professionals that agree with that too. If you're under the influence, it's hard to live life, actually. You gotta be sober. A lot of people don't realize that, and it takes a lot of effort for them to learn that fact. But so, like, whenever I was growing up, it was pretty. I mean, we were a pretty wild household. Me and my brother were 13 months apart, and we played hard, we fought hard, and yeah, we that was just how we were. We were pretty much the moment we opened our eyes up, we went. And I remember first and second grade, we actually, I think it was pre-K or kindergarten and first grade. I remember, and we lived in a house that me and him would walk to school, and my dad would pick us up in limousines every so often when he could, because he worked on them. And we those were some of the like funner years of the childhood that I really remember. And living on that street was pretty cool. There was a couple of cool friends we had on it. One up the street had a bunch of GI Joes and whatnot, and cool stuff. Me and Philip went and hung out and played with him all the time in his like downstairs living room area where all of it was. And then there's another friend like down at the end of the street that he was pretty cool and we played with and hung out with a good bit too. A crazy story with bees happened at that house. Philip stuck a stick down a yellow jacket nest, and yeah, they came out, and I got hit a few times, but he got like over 20 stings across his whole body. We were only like 5 and 4, and he was the 4-year-old. I was the 5-year-old. Like I was 13 months older than him, so um, but it was we were almost always going. Philip was a lot more fearless than me. I was a lot more reserved and timid in a variety of ways growing up. Um, and it was we did a lot of fun stuff, and then we moved into new houses, and we because we moved out of that house because we only rent for so long, and we ended up moving into a neighborhood called Little River North, and we lived there for the longest of my life. It was from second grade till I graduated high school, and a couple years after that, before my parents moved from that house to the house they're in now. And in that house, it was we were second, third, second, first grade, third grade, second grade, and nowadays everybody freaks out about like where's your kid all the time. Well, what was coming from school, and we were so rambunctious, and we caused mess so much. My mom would lock us out of the house and tell us to come back when the sun's setting. So, and there were still crazy people back then. There are still kidnappings and everything else, and yada yada yada. People act like craziness is something new. No, people have always been fucking crazy. That's just how people are. They're crazy. So it's just a different mentality. One, the neighborhood we grew up in did have a big section of woods behind it, so we just played in the woods. So it's not like we were around other people. If anything, like we did learn great survival skills, but we could deal with almost any animals, and we go back home. We even caught snakes, poisonous ones, and everything while we were little kids, and brought them back home. We freaked my dad out a couple of times, bringing home pockets full of copperheads and putting them in our kiddie pool. And the first time he killed every one of them each time we did it. But we were like 7 and 8, and we just found a nest of baby copperheads, and me and my brother just filled our pockets up and brought them home and put them in our kiddie pool. And we thought it was the coolest shit in the world. And our dad came home, murdered everyone, freaked out on us. Those snakes can kill you. They'll bite you. They're poisonous. Don't put them in your pockets. What the hell are you thinking? So the next day, we go back to the nest because we didn't get all of them the day before. So we take a bag from a newspaper. We dump the newspaper out and use the plastic bag, put grass in there and shit, catch the baby copperheads and throw them in the bag, and take them home and fill the kiddie pool up again. Dad comes home raising hell, killing them all. We're like, what the hell, man? Why are you killing them now? We didn't put them in our pockets. we used a bag. He's like, I'm glad to hear that, but they're still deadly. So me and Phil were actually the downfall of like over 10 baby copperheads out of that nest. Yeah, because we found them and loved them and brought them home. They died. Yeah, they died. Yeah, it's a shame how sometimes the things you love end up dying because you love them. But it's a very real tragedy in life, actually. But so that was when I was like, second, third grade, fourth grade. In school wise, I sucked. I was not caring at all to learn reading or math or any of it. I was good at math and certain things, but I didn't care at all about schoolwork. I was actually put into special ed classrooms because they could tell I was a very smart kid, but they just couldn't make me care about anything. And one of the things I've learned later in my life, I have clinical, or had. At this point, it's had. I don't have it anymore, which is amazing, and I love it. But that time period, I had clinical depression. Like it was a chemical imbalance I was born with. So at 7, 8, 9, it was very hard to get me to care about certain things, especially with household being so chaotic. And then I was pretty much able to run free at home. So when you put me in school, and all those rules, and I got to do these things. And yeah, I didn't really care to do it. And it's not like anyone can really make you do anything in life. You have to choose to do it yourself. No one can really make you do something. Someone can put a gun to your head and you can say, no, they made me. No, you can get shot and not do it. There's still a choice. People like to deny that aspect, but there's still a fucking choice. Me personally, someone put a gun to my head, I'm gonna get shot because they can kiss my white ass if I'm gonna do what they want. Like, that's just me, though. I'm a stubborn person. But so yeah, I was in special ed until like 5th grade, and I finally returned to like normal classrooms and stuff like that. I think it was actually my 6th grade year, and that was yeah, but it was also the year that there was this school dance, 6th grade school dance. And actually that was the only school dance I ever did in the entire time I went to middle school, high school, all of it. I never went to any of the dancing things. I really was never that social. I got to know a few people really well, and that's it. And most of my schooling, most all my friends were actually made outside of school. They lived around us in the houses around us, so we ran around the neighborhoods, and you meet everybody. So in school, to me, it was very foreign. I understand needing to learn subjects and certain things like that, but for me, the fact that people in those age groups, they treat it like it's you know real life, and it is real life, and it's important to learn classes and schoolwork, but what goes on in school up and through high school is nothing like the real world. It's where our children are safe and learn the things we feel are important to know while being an adult in the real world. So I could tell that at a very young age that school was more or less a joke. Like, when it came to reality, like, it was a delusion, in my opinion, because the real world doesn't function anything like a child's life while in school. That's not the real world. Uh, but not everybody has opinions like that. And I was very young, and still in middle school and whatnot. And yeah, I thought it was I had to do what I had to do, but at the same time, it was a joke. I didn't understand social cliques and groups and all that shit. Didn't care about them. Is irrelevant to me because everybody goes to college. Guess what? Everybody's in different fucking directions. Most people that go to high school together do not know each other 5 years after leaving high school. So it's important to learn to make friendships and have friendships. Most of the people that I made friendships with in high school, I actually still do know, can contact, and are friends with. Like, they're people I generally still like. A lot of us have been through different things in life, and it's been cool to see, because it's been over 20 years since I made a lot of those friendships, and it's fun to makes fun living longer funner. And I didn't feel that way until I lost my depression. Though, like, with depression, I could give a shit about being alive, really. But now it's a whole different story. But back to the time period I was at was I think those years are like 11, 12, 13, right before puberty. Was 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. To me, school and a variety of things, it I like I said, I get learning the subjects and everything like that, but a lot of the social educate, a lot of the certain things that go on in school, or why you have to do them, it really eluded me, and kind of still does to the day. Certain social behaviors of people, I really don't get or understand, nor do I really care to in any way, shape, or form. Like, there's a variety of them, but they're kind of irrelevant. But I during that time period in the mid '90s, in my middle school time period and whatnot, it's kind of more when I found video games and just cared to play video games, watch cartoons. Some of that behavior has not changed, even though I'm a 40-year-old man now. I still would rather do some of that stuff than certain other things. Besides, I do like people. I like socializing. I like going out. I really do enjoy making people laugh and entertaining people. I find it really easy because I don't really get shy or bashful easily. I do stumble with words. I'm not very literate. I'm more illiterate than literate. So it makes speaking a challenge at times, but at the same time, practice makes perfect. So hopefully each year I get better. Uh, but yeah, and I don't know. I guess I kind of still am socially awkward. I definitely was back then. I didn't really understand social cues or dating and certain things. I tried dating a variety of times, but the relationships never lasted long or anything like that until I got older. I think like 18, 19 was the first time a relationship lasted for more than like a few weeks, and the girl was like, I don't know why you dated. But, um, again, I'm an odd person. So I can get where people get curious and then they're like, all right, you really just are weird. And then they don't really care anymore. And I respect that because I do the same thing in areas where people are certain ways. And I'm like, oh, you're like that. Well, have a great life. So, or maybe, that's just where what goes around comes around. That kind of thing. Because I very much have the mentality myself. So, but, um, you know, I had Philip, my younger brother, at 13 months, and he was a lot more social than me. He was a lot better at making friends than me. And yeah, so it was. I tagged along with him and got to know a variety of people through him. I did make a few variety of friends on my own here and there, but like I said, to me, making friends is kind of redundant because I don't know, if you don't really have values and principles and we don't really get along, then I don't really see a point in being friends. So it's like I've in my life I've sifted through lots and lots of people because I did want some good quality friends, and I have found some people that are amazing friends. No matter faith beliefs or whatever, they're people I love and cherish, and I'm grateful they're in my lives and they feel the same way about me. But it I got to know a lot of people in a variety of different ways, and like I said, I have a handful of people I consider real friends, and that really is like 10 people, maybe 15 at very most. Um, and getting everybody together, that's crazy talk. All my friends, live their own lives doing their own things, just like I do. Um, but uh, I guess running away from the point, back when I was younger, especially since a lot of this has been in spiritual aspects, I was raised, or my parents were raised in Christian beliefs. My dad a Baptist, my mom a Catholic, and so they were believed very much that God is the one that takes care of the household. So my mom, at one point, with my dad being as drunk as he was, and everything was what it was with all of us kids and everything, she got back into church and started bringing us to church and everything like that. And so one day she came to me and my brother and was like, your dad's really nice. He's here, but he's not, because he's pretty much drunk 90% of the time. So it's like, it's not like you have a dad to go to. And said that, she was giving us back to God and that we were originally his sons, period, and yada yada. And so we were like, oh, well, that's cool. And me and my brother to the day could actually tell a difference in how shit went. Like before that moment, uh, he's not here to really verify this anymore. He passed away, which kind of sucks because he does remember, and I did use him as a like. I'm not crazy. We really did that shit, didn't we? Because before that happened, we would still get in trouble if we did certain things. Well, after that occurred, me and him did a variety of shit, and some of the shit was pretty crazy, and we never got in trouble. Literally, I mean, we ended up putting kids through walls in the church, not intentionally. We were just playing and whatnot with each other, play wrestling and stuff like that. Oh yeah, and yeah, put people right through walls, and yeah, and all of us like freak out, like, all right, everybody out. We'd all dip out and run, but it's none of us got hurt. It's not like anyone was trying to hurt anybody. We were just playing, and yeah, some shit happened, and yeah, no one found out because none of us ever talked about it. And yeah, but it's kind of more intense than that because it went on for a variety of years until we got older. And when you get older, you got to stand more accountable before God. But when you're young and the family's wild and you're handed over, yeah, there's a lot of freedom given. And at certain time periods, yeah, I mean, we didn't see a point in being concerned about anything, and we lived that way. I mean, we were kids though, so why shouldn't a kid live like a kid? And just the fact that faith like a child and all that is just so more real and true than anyone can even imagine. But the life we live is not as simple as faith, though. Like, God's real, but He does allow the world to be what it is for His own reasons. And you cannot question God's reasons. He has His own reasons, and you have to respect that. And a lot of people don't like to respect it. So, you gotta watch how you live. And when we learned some of that, and it was kind of crazy how much really we got away with. Me personally, because I saw so much of it, and the favor was so drastic, and it could change certain things. And the fact that I had depression, it made me think about stuff a lot more than want to act and live in it. Mainly because, like, having faith and it's like during those years I dreamed of death. Like, not waking up the next day was the goal. But having faith, you can't take your own life. It's kind of oxymoron because you don't decide when you go, God does. This is more or less what it comes down to. So the only real way of winning against my depression was a natural death, not me doing it myself. So, and I came to terms with that. I'm a patient, peaceful person. So it's easy to wait for death. It just happens. You don't really got to worry about it, actually. But depression does suck to live with. I mean, you really are in a dark void, and you're numb, and you just don't feel. I mean, you try, you daydream about some of it. Sometimes anxiety and certain things like almost get you up because it's different than the numb depression feeling. Yeah, through high school and stuff. Someone's walking around outside the tent. But I did like cut myself, burn myself, different things like that. Feeling different causes people to do odd, weird behaviors. And then on top of growing up in an unstable environment, it makes it tricky to learn how to cope with things in healthy manners. And in my opinion, I don't blame my parents. I love my parents. They did the best they could with the lives they lived. It's the very reason why they're still here, and they're the beautiful, well-aged wines they are. Both of them are incredibly knowledgeable and very, very kind, honestly. And they don't deal with shit very well. You wonder where I get it from. But yeah, I mean, that's where it's like I don't want anything to be held against the things that occurred. The fact that it was a pretty chaotic drug and mental abuse household, and it's not like they were abusing. Me and my siblings were never abused. Um, my dad whooped me with a belt, and I damn deserved it. I can tell you that much. Anytime he ever got my ass, I deserved it. So, that's, and that, in my opinion, that speaks tolls because, he was drinking. So, it's not like he ever raised a hand because he was angry and a drunk and yada yada. So, there was yelling and fighting, stuff like that. I did have to a couple of times stand in and told my parents, "Shut up, go to your bedrooms." My sisters were crying. I didn't care anymore. When you're stuck in certain shitty situations, you either do or you don't. And I'm more a doer. Like, it's kind of simple. I'm a first one. What can I say? And then I was giving back to God even more. Like, I'm gonna do shit. Like, I'm not gonna just stand there. I've been that way my whole life. It's kind of funny. Fights dissolve in front of me before I can get involved. And that's very much God's hand. Because if I get involved, then I might be the one punching somebody, and it never turns out well. I've only been in a few fights, and yeah, they were all with my brother. No one's actually, anyone else has never actually wanted to fight me. I've had a few people say it and then be like, stare me in the face, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And they're like, all right, have a great night. And I'm like, okay, bye. But I mean, in all opinion, it's hard to fight somebody that has depression and wants to die because they really aren't concerned about being hurt. And most people, the idea behind the fight is they'll hurt the person and make them shut up and stop. But that's the thing with somebody like me. It's like the moment you hurt me, it's like you just gear me up farther. So it's like fighting. I like fighting. I'm a fighter. Like it's a dangerous thing, really. But most people see it in my eyes and they leave me alone because they're like, never mind. You really want to, and I'm like, oh please. It makes it stop. It's kind of funny how things like that work. But yeah. So my dad got sober when I was like 16. It really showed me the power of God because I never thought that man would be sober. And actually, yeah, he, like anybody that struggles with substances or anything like that you get in trouble and you deal with law enforcement. And he had to serve 6 months, and that made it where he was completely sober. And when he came out, he didn't pick up another drink. He spent some time in ICU for pneumonia and almost died. And after that, he kept drinking. Yeah, I was the only one that was actually able to go in and see him in the hospital when he was hooked up to all those machines and tubes because I was the only one old enough. Kelly was the only other one, but she didn't want to. But I was like, I'll go with you, Mom. So I went in there and everything and saw him all like a cyborg. Really, it's crazy. People think medicine's nuts, but I'm like, that's so cool that we can actually keep somebody alive that would have died. You know what I mean? If we didn't have that technology, he would not be here anymore, and it would have been a long, long time ago. So, and I'm very grateful that he is still here, and I'm able to still have a relationship with my dad and talk about things and be able to share the ups and downs of life. Because those never stop. Whether you have depression or you feel normal or anything else. If you feel normal though and you're a normal person and you're seeking spirituality, you better be the nicest fucking person on the planet. Because if you feel great every day and you don't deal with certain bullshit, there's no reason for you to not be kind. Like, what the fuck is your problem to not be kind? I've had clinical depression and wanted death my entire life. I have a right to, I could have been an asshole, but I don't be mean or rude to people for no reason. And I have reasons. I feel like fucking shit. And that's the way I was made. But just because that's the truth doesn't mean I act like it or treat people that way. That's bullshit. And people that treat people like shit, in my opinion, are the ones that need to be whacked upside the head. But, you go to jail if you do that. Just as people watching, you can't go around and whack people upside the head. Just to let you know. But, so, high school is rather entertaining. I did seem to get a representation as somebody that just doesn't care. I didn't realize that so much until a kid I went to high school with. I ran into him like down the road, and this was like 3 months ago, maybe. They were talking, and I told him how actually that I was actually living in a tent in my parents' backyard pretty much right now, and he was like, "No way," and I was like, "Yeah, I got started my own company, which I'm trying to get it going and whatnot." And the goal is to try and get some property. I mean, if you need to just put a tin on it and figure it out and go from there. He was like, "Your ass hasn't changed from high school." And I didn't really understand and get what he meant. Besides, I've thought about it more. And in high school, I didn't give a fuck either. And I still just, I don't need what people think you need to live life. You don't need. Life's so much simpler and easier to live than anyone thinks, especially in our country. Like it's crazy. And especially if you actually want to try for stuff, because I have cool toys and stuff. I personally like living outside. I never thought I would actually get to, but I've actually been in a tent for a year now, and I really don't care to leave it. I think it freaks my parents out, but I like being in nature. I like nature. Being able to hear the birds and the trees move in the wind and certain things like that. You can't hear it in a house. The walls block it out. Some people like that shit. They like having those solid walls where they can't tell the storms going on around them. Me personally, I like storms. I like feeling the energy in them. It feels so amazing. Sometimes it is terrifying. I feel like trees might fall on top of me. That's real shit. But how do you know you're living if you're not scared every now and then? That's a large part of living is being able to get scared. Um, but so I forgot where I was going, but in high school, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Um, Apparently, a variety of people did pay attention to me a lot more than I ever thought. Um, I guess it's because I did just have that I don't give a fuck attitude, period, and I was actually smart, and I was down to teach and explain to other people and certain shit, but at the same time, I didn't really care. Um, but I was a tiny little kid. Literally, I was like 120 soaking wet in high school. Skin and bones, pretty much. Uh, but yeah, I graduated, yada yada. Um, I am pretty intelligent. I did graduate with a seventh grade reading level though. That's where I talk about being illiterate. Yeah, I graduated high school with seventh grade. I have dyslexia and a couple other things. They actually read me my test in high school in social studies and a couple other subjects. Science every now and then too, depending on what the test was. Because if I read it myself, I don't understand the material. But if someone's talking about it, then I can explain it to them. So, and apparently I've only gotten better at it because I've talked to a couple of people that are into like these cool cool college science classes, and I actually understand more of it than that. Like some of them I've understood more of it than they did, and they were pretty shocked. So was I, because I'm like, I ain't gonna fight over that shit. But I really feel like everything you want to learn, especially if you're a scientist and into science, um, you can learn it right here in life. And if you have faith in your spiritual, then the answers will be shown to you. It's just how much do you accept the truth? How much do you accept that you're really being answered? A lot of people deny that they actually got the answers when they got them. But a lot of people don't like to accept the way things really are. So, but I honestly don't know what things really are. I'm kind of curious what life is really supposed to be. Because I don't feel like this place is right. It's got a lot wrong with it, in my opinion. If this is the way life is supposed to be, but what do I know? I'm just a part of it. I'm not the one that made this shit. But so through like high school and everything, I still believed. I've always believed in God since I was a little kid. Even before my mom handed me over to him, I still like believed that life didn't just happen. We were made. Um, Creative design, I guess, would be the best way to say what I believe in is creative design. That there's a creator that actually designed everything to work this way. If you want to say that creator is a being or something like that, yeah, you'll never find it. You'll never see it. If anything, it is the entire creation itself is one thing, from the sun and the moon and the stars to the planet with the ants and the bugs and the people. That is the creator. So, uh, trying to, yeah, yeah. But spiritually, there is a spirit that is the creator's spirit, and he created that spirit for as his means to interact with all the other spirits he created. um, but at the same time, that's what he created to interact with this world. He has way more means than just that spirit to interact with this world. He's the fucking creator. It's his work. This is his creation. So, we can't even imagine all the different ways that he can interact with creation that we don't even realize. But he did make a spirit for us to be able to get to know it, to understand the thing that did make everything. And I think a lot of that's really cool because it just shows that he really is caring. It's just how much do you care? And I think that's a lot of life. How much do you care to learn something? Different ages, I didn't give two fucking shits to learn anything. Now, as I've gotten older, I like learning a variety of things. If anything, I'm trying to expand on some things and learn new things and get better at doing some stuff that I've never really done before. So, like, kind of like starting a company and running it and making my own money from people and doing jobs for them that they're highly satisfied and get their money worth plus some out of it, as well as new relationships and cool stuff like that. But so yeah, high school I did like a variety of church youth type camp thing jiggers, and I gotta say those were some of the most fun I had through my high school times. And it was because we went rappelling and other things, and then also I got to learn more about what God's spirit was and what my spirit was and how they interacted with each other. Learning those things were, in my opinion, some of the most valuable shit I learned when I was a kid. If anything, as I've grown, the only thing I've really tried to work on and get better at is growing my spirit and recognizing His spirit. And personally, people think you gotta go places and do things. Um, God will bring life to you. All you gotta do is live, and not try and stay huddled up in a ball. You know what I mean? Be open to new shit. Do new shit. Now, yes, if you don't like it, don't do it. Like, that's all. But at the same times, you might have to do some shit you don't like or you don't want to. But most of the time, it's only having conversations. You're not actually going to be like, hey, you got to put your finger in that hole whether you like it or that's not God. That's some asshole fucking with you. But at the same time, people don't know some of this shit. And they think that God would actually make them do some crazy shit. And yeah, he really wouldn't. He has no interest in seeing any of us do crazy shit unless we want to. If we want to do some crazy shit, by all means, do some. That's why we got America's Funniest Home Videos and shit like that. It's great. Uh, People are the best part about life, in my opinion. Even though people drive me crazy, and half the time it's like, how the hell do you deal with assholes? But at the same time, I'm like, I am an asshole too. So how do I deal with me? But so yeah, I was back in high school too. I was trying to figure out, why did God put me here? What the hell is my purpose, like, in life? What the hell am I here for? Blah blah blah. I think all of us wonder, what is the purpose behind life? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? This and that and that. Some people might try and say, "Oh, I'm finally doing it now." This shit. I'll bite my white ass. I've been living my life by my purpose my entire life. Um, my ministry, my outreach, my everything is my day to day. I touch more lives and I rub off on more people in more ways just doing my daily life than a lot of people do on, a missions trip. Because, yeah, every person I talk to, I cheer them up. I make them laugh. I make them smile. Because I say nice shit. And if anything, I bring up random dumb topics where they're like, what the hell are you even? And it makes them laugh. And I'm sorry, but if more people would run around caring to, have a good time with other people, there wouldn't be as much shitty attitude. You know what I'm saying? And if you're having a shitty day, literally be, if somebody says something, whatever, be like, man, I'm having a shit day. And if anything, the person's gonna be like, bro, that sucks. Like, that sucks. I don't want to make your day shittier, but shit days come and go. They do. Not every day's shit. And if it is, then that's just life sometimes. I had clinical depression for 40 years, so I get, lots of days are shit. But life goes on. And I didn't let my depression decide my life. Like I said, I felt that way every fucking day, but I still treated people like they were special. I still chose to get up and go to work, get up and love on the people I love on, get up and do what I had to do. I lived my life, every bit of it. Whether I was depressed as fuck, well, I was depressed as fuck. No choice in that, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, some things you don't get a choice in shit, and that's just how it goes. And there's no point in whining and fucking crying about it, especially if you're a man. If you're a man, you got a dick, you got balls. Shut the fuck up and quit whining and crying. You can talk about shit and deal with things, but at the same time, dealing with something means that you do let go and move on. You get past it. Sometimes it takes a little time, especially if it rubs you wrong. You gotta, you might bring it up a time or two more than really even you care to because it rubbed you wrong. Well, that's okay, but you still get the fuck over it. Life goes on. Why get hung up on shit that's irrelevant? Like, that was the biggest thing in high school that I noticed that people do. Oh, fucking Johnny's who said this or some other shit. And it's like, is that on the quiz? What the fuck does it matter? Like, you people won't even know each other in fucking 3 years. Like, I never understood certain social aspects like that, and how people like to develop these cliques, and then like almost shit talk and eavesdrop on each other to figure out whose life's more fucked up than whose. And I can tell you this much: everybody anywhere, I will aim to live the most oddball life out of any of you fuckers. From not even caring to be in a house, to the odd collections I do, to the way I just function. Psychologists even said that I'm a weird person, but if anything, more people should be like me. And I think that's pretty funny because I try to be weird. It entertains me. But I'm still nicer. I don't get it. Even though there are a lot of nice people out there. And there's a lot of people out there way nicer than me, personally. Way nicer. They're way more considerate. If anything, it's those people that I really watch what I say in public and do, because I feel like there's, lots more way nicer than me. Like, if anything, I'm the ass, like a nice asshole that is bored half the time and wants to pick on the assholes. But that makes me an asshole. So it's it's like a fine line you gotta walk. Shit like that they don't teach you in high school. That's the shit they should be teaching you in high schools. How to be an asshole without being an asshole to the asshole with an asshole. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of assholes though. So definitely be a guy class. Girls have a whole different criteria they should learn personally. I don't know it. I'm not a girl. I think you gotta have boobs and a vagina to figure that shit out. But I'm sure there's a variety of spiritual women and women out there that have figured it out and could easily teach the ladies in those younger ages about the shit that they really need to know. And I don't get me wrong, arithmetics and the shit they teach in school is also what we really need to know. But there's a lot of other stuff that's not taught that needs to be. And it needs to be taught at home and in school. And it's spiritual shit. And it's principles and values. But it has to be done from the top down, not the bottom up. And yeah, well, let's just say our leaders aren't very good with values or morals. They can't sell them, so they don't care. But that's another one of my opinions. I've developed. But so yeah, one of my other favorite parts in high school is I got to build a bridge. It actually got me a technology award. I didn't expect that out of it. I just got to spend like an entire semester building one bridge out of popsicles, and I thought it was sweet because I like tedious tasks, and the fact I could do one thing for a class and it was fucking done was even cooler. So yeah, it was pretty fun. I did try out for the football team one time, and it's what really made me be like, I am just a skinny little fucking kid. And yeah, me and the like biggest, beefiest kid in the school that was on the football team and like the football star guy nailed each other. And yeah, like I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'd rather play football without pads. I'd rather just, catch me if you can. I don't want all this shit on me. So that was like, start and end of the idea of football. Personally, I like the idea of more of a professional fighter, but I don't know if I should really try at 40 years old. But at the same time, I am gonna work on my body, and if my body kind of gives me certain response things and it feels good, I don't think I'm gonna care that I'm 40. I think I'm still gonna try certain things, just because I want to fight, and I don't get a fight in normal day-to-day life. I'll never get a fight somebody, and it really kind of sucks. I really do want to get in some fights every so often. So yeah, but I'm not the type of person that, yeah, if anything, I want to register somewhere and fight against other fighters, not just people that think they are hot shit and don't like my opinion. Like that, to me, that's not even a fight. That's a pussy that I'm gonna put out in one fucking hit. So if you can tell, like I'm a little hung up on some of that. And so honestly, it's crazy, but my depression going away has made some of this where I'm gonna actually have to find ways to find outlets and deal with some of these things and cope. Otherwise, it really could end up just punching someone one day because of some dumbass shit. Because I just want to punch somebody. Like it's the way we're made is crazy as shit. Like I don't understand it, but we are how we are. And I'll figure out an outlet. Obviously, I will not be punching people in the face ever in my life, unless it's a competitive fight between me and someone else, and then I'm gonna punch somebody in the face as much as I can. But that's what a fight's for. So yeah, I graduated high school on time, all that shit. I tried to actually go to a technical school for massage therapy where I'd get a 2 year in science, and I was going to use that to try and transfer into UGA because I was on a technical course through high school, which made it where, like, if I wanted to get into any larger university or anything like that, I would have to go through a 2 year school first, anyways. So I thought the massage therapy one would be perfect because I can learn massage therapy and get certified at the same time, and I can do massages while going to college and pay for, make money and study whatever I want and go to school and be super sweet. And I was going to do science, obviously. Love that shit. But the school that I picked and went to and tried, I was on probation for possession of marijuana at the time, and I wasn't allowed any student loans. Well, the school got me loans anyways. I guess they said I wasn't. Well, in the following year, when they ran it again, the loans were kicked back, and the school tried to tell me I owed them like $10,000 before I graduated, before I got my table, and I told them, "Hi, you're high on cocaine and cocaine products because I don't know you a fucking penny before I graduate." And they were like, "Oh no," and I was like, "Oh no," was I'll just quit coming here. They were like, "No, you have to pay us back," and I said, "Oh, let's take this to court." And they were like, yeah." I never heard from them again. But certain legal shit is legit, and you can't just decide shit for people. Um, that's why we have laws. That's why there's certain things in place, and it sucks that all happened. It really did because I did kind of want to do that, but at the same time, life goes the way it goes, and I really have no complaints in how my life's been. It's not like my life's been like some glamour show as far as people are concerned, but spiritually, I've learned and I've been able to live however I've wanted spiritually, and that is way more valuable to me than having the best job in the world, the president of the United States, solving world hunger, saving people, hell, even being Jesus Christ. I would rather live my life and have the spiritual life I've had so far than anything else. So, and I mean, some of that is the children I've had and the people I've loved. They're all a large part of that. But like to me, it's far more valuable than anything else that I could have had in my life. And I have had an interesting spiritual life. That's for sure. Uh, so like I guess we were at the high school and graduating it. I'm So in my early 20s and whatnot, me, my brother, and a friend that I used to spar on trampolines with whenever I was a kid, me and him, we had a lot of fun with each other. We beat the crap out of each other. I was a few years older, so he got the blunt end of the stick more times than not. A lot of it did have to do with the fact that I was just faster and a little more clever. Like, I'd set him up at times and make him think one thing and then hit him in another area. Then other times I just do it so fast that I think he just reacted how he could and threw an arm out. But at the same time, he got me several times too, and there's a reason why I consider him like my best friend during those years and like one of my best friends. And yeah, it was, we had so much fun. Irreplaceable memories. The person's irreplaceable as well. Uh, but I had a few friends growing up like that. That they were, I wouldn't be who I am if those people wouldn't have been in my lives. I personally don't care to drop names or anything like that. Like I said, I want to post it and I want it to be like a video biography, but at the same time, I am a bit of a personal person. I don't really care to expose all details of my individual life to the public. I'm even if I was a celebrity, I wouldn't tell you everything. I'd tell you fun stories. Like me and him, we'd fight on trampolines. Like we would watch Dragon Ball Z, and it was like one of the first times in Dragon Ball Z was kind of first popular in the '90s. And all, dude, we were Dragon Ball Z fighters, jumping on that trampoline, beating the shit out of each other. It was sweet, so much fun. Uh, I was few years older than him though, so it was a bit of an unfair advantage. Um, I don't know. He had another friend that the two of them would take me on at times, and one like punches and one like kicks, so I had to deal with each of them separately. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Uh, but yeah, and then I had other friends in growing up, and I mean, I like I said, I grew up in a alcoholic drug out house, so teenage years and whatnot, 16 and on. I mean, we were stealing beers and everything else from wherever we could. Obviously, after my dad got sober when I was 16, so after that, it wasn't from him. We had other people in the neighborhood that would get us some, or they had, and we would just take it and stuff like that. Like, it's easy for a kid, honestly, to get stuff, whether people think so or not. And most of the kids that want to get it or are out to get it, it's because it's done in front of them a lot. Otherwise, they would have no interest in it because they wouldn't know what it was. And then, seriously, if they didn't know what alcohol was and they tasted it the first couple of times, they more than likely aren't going to drink it, period. Alcohol is very much an adult refined taste unless the child's seen someone do it a lot. For the most part, any younger person is not gonna pick up a beer and finish it. If anything, they're gonna take a few sips, if not like 4 or 5, and be like, "That shit does not get better as you drink it." Especially if it's an IPA or a Guinness or an actual what an adult would consider a good beer. They're not gonna want it unless they watch their parents or other loved ones drink that shit all the time and get drunk and stuff like that. Then they're gonna be like, okay, no, it's cool. You gotta ignore the bad taste to get to the cool part. So, um, so me and my brother, and the friend that I sparred with jumped on the trampolines. We beat each other up. We all got a house together, and me and my brother had always been into reptiles. We've had a lot over years. And in this house, we had gotten a snake, and she did stay at that friend's house that I sparred with. He had her from a smaller size all the way until she got about like 8, 9 feet. I think it was around 10 feet. We moved into this house altogether, and we got the snake from another friend that he actually bought from some meth heads for $50, and the snake had a bad burn on its belly because they had a heat pad under the tank. And so, one friend that brought it home, just put it on the floor, set it out in the room with him, just like, hey, buddy, get used to us. Well, another friend walked by it, got bit on the side of the leg. The snake fully wrapped up his leg and tried to squeeze. Like, the snake was, freaked out, defensive, territorial. Bit wrapped up his leg and tried to crush it. The next day, he brought the snake over to us because he was one of our friends that he knew we were all into reptiles, and he was all about reptiles too. And he was like, dude, this snake's fucking crazy. I don't want it. You can have it. And we said, okay, thanks. And that was when we got it. And it was about 4.5 feet long. My mom wouldn't allow anything like that at the house. She let us have a tree snake at one time when we were growing up, but that was only because, like, I guess a bunch of shit was going on, and she just didn't want to say no to us because so much crap was going on in the house that she was like, no, sure, y'all can have your snake fine. My mom hates snakes and rodents. Like, number one teetotal, least favorite things ever. So the snake stayed at my friend's house that I sparred with, and my brother, we were all great friends. And we first got the snake, no one would handle it or touch it because we knew it bit a kid on the leg and wrapped up its leg. We had it out, and we were using pull cues around its head to make sure it couldn't get a strike or S up on anybody and everything, because we needed to, evaluate the snake. And I noticed its tail wasn't letting its tail touch the ground, period, and it had a horrible third-degree burn on like 6 inches of its back tail, by like right past its butt and stuff. And so we made an enclosure for it and put it in there, and we would feed it every so often, and then we would drag it out every so often. We'd soak it in warm water, and we just gave it its space, and all it had was a heat lamp. We didn't put anything warm, no heat pads or anything anymore, just a heat lamp. About 6 months went by, and that snake went from 4.5 feet to about 9 feet. And we were feeding it rats, like two a week. We fed it really well. It was a Burmese python, so they grow pretty fast, period, especially if well fed, and they're very, very, very large snakes. A full grown Burmese python can eat me, like literally. They can eat full grown men. I'm roughly 6 feet and 170 pounds, 75 pounds, somewhere in there. But yeah, they can swallow me whole without a problem. Crush my ribs, choke me out, not a problem. They're huge. Very powerful snake. I love them. They're amazing. I would not own one to full grown unless I could do certain things, because you gotta know what you're housing, and what you're dealing with. That snakes do not become your friend. Reptiles do not become your friend. There is no such thing as a mammal that's a reptile's friend. At least in the reptiles world. Mammals are food. That's it. Um, that's where there's stories of people being devoured by their large monitors and their large lizards or their big snakes, because it doesn't matter how long you raise it, you're still food to it. Doesn't change in its brain. Its brain functions how it does. Our brain functions how it does. But the snake was she was our pet. At that point, the snake was still very ornery. We had named her Bitch because she was so ornery. She would hiss. You went by the box, she'd fucking hiss, raise hell. Like I said, we'd had her 6 months. She had doubled in size. She was completely healthy. All the burn scales had come off her, everything. She'd come out. She had dealt with us, everything else. She was actually getting really placid with us once we had her out. It was only in her tank that she would hiss at us and stuff. And one day I told Philip and my brother and my buddy that I was done with it. Like, the fucking bitch can bite me. Like, I don't care anymore. So I put my hand in the tank and I went right up under her coils. She was hissing. If you've ever heard a big snake hiss, it's worse than a dog or a cat. Like, it'll freak you out way more than most animals. You hear hiss and roar and stuff like that. Like a lion, yeah, a lion would be way more freaky, but big reptiles, yeah, it's a unique noise. And put my hand in there under there. I thought she was gonna bite me. Like, it was the first time. None of us had been willing to, and I was like, "Fuck it, dude. She can just bite me. I got to get past it. She's got to get past it. If she's on a strike, she's on a strike. So she's got to get it over with and learn that she can bite us, and we're not gonna hurt her." Because they animals do learn, and if they learn that they can do certain things and you're not gonna hurt them, then most of the time they'll back off on you, and they'll be kinder. They won't really just attack you every time. They might attack you every now and then. You really never know. They're animals. But like the snake, I didn't know what she was gonna do. But I was only giving her an arm, so it couldn't go that bad. So, but I slid a hand in there under her coil. She hissed, kind of pushed at my hand with her coil, and I just went a little farther under and grabbed under her coils and slid her out and pulled her up and pulled her out the box, and she just kind of came out of her coil and just went elongated and was just right there in my hands and just went over, and my buddy came up and brother, and they just put their hands out and she just crawled onto it and everything else. I still was in contact with my homeroom teacher at the time. I had younger sisters still in school at the same school I went to. So I talked to her about the fact that I had 12-foot snake, Burmese python, that if she wanted, I'd bring into classes. And so she was like, "Are you serious? Like, yeah, if you want to come in when I'm talking about reptiles, that'd be great." So for like, I don't know, it was like 3 years, maybe 4 years. There's a few years after I graduated, I would still go back up there with that snake. And yeah, she got to know a variety of high school kids and got to hang out and everything else, and it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun, honestly, owning that snake. It did end up passing, but my brother didn't set up a proper enclosure for it when he moved into an apartment, and they kept it at like 58, 60 degrees. And for that snake, that's pretty much just asking it to go into a coma and pass away. So she curled up in a closet and never moved again. Um, it was kind of sad, but at the same time, I was glad. Because at that point, that snake was over 16 feet long and as thick as my thigh, if not bigger. She was at a size where she was about to be eating goats. Yes, rabbits were no longer something. Like, if anything, I had to feed her rabbits weekly because she was getting so large. Yeah, she needed her food size increased because her body size was so large. It's an intense animal to own. Um, I do not suggest it for anyone that values their life. It is not a snake that is meant to be in a house. I would rather not be in an environment that snake is naturally supposed to be in. The Everglades is not it. They're not supposed to be there. But but yeah, they're intense animals. They're intense animals. And if you do want to own one and full grown, don't use glass when they get bigger. Use plexiglass. They won't break it. And at least make it a half-inch thick. That snake is nothing but muscle, and it will break shit. The When it was 10 feet, we had it in a enclosure made of 2x4s, screws, chicken wire, everything like that. Yeah, she decided she was done being in it, so she went up to one side of it, put coils between it, and just did like that, and just pried the thing open. And it wasn't even where the door was. She just, ripped the screws through and just opened it. So yeah, and that's at that house. She lived with us. She for a long time. My buddy, she stayed in his room with him at night whenever he would sleep and whatnot. And a lot of times during the day, a lot of times she'd roam the house, but a lot of times she would just be in his bedroom as well. Um, it freaked him out because he liked his room more cold, but reptiles don't like the cold. So every night, she'd pretty much go to cuddle up with him because he's warm, but she's like ice cube cold. But he would say he would put her in his closet and shut the door. He'd put her in dresser drawers and shut the dressers to lock her in there so she couldn't go try and cuddle up with him. He had enough at like maybe 5 months, 6 months. And I told him after, when he was like, "When you got to take her?" I was like, "I'll take her," and she stayed in my room with me. And after that, I knew what he told me about how she would, go to him for warmth at night and everything like that. So the first couple of days she was in my room, she wrecked it. I mean, she destroyed it. I reset it up like each time and whatnot. And I believe it or not, at the time I was going through like, it was when I was first living on my own, taking care of my own bills, everything like that, and I was learning some stuff with the Lord, and I was going through, like, if something bad happens, you praise and rejoice for it, and you just take care of it and you move on. Well, snake demolished my room multiple times, like literally, and each time I just praised and rejoiced, put it back. Well, after a week or so, nothing went out of place in my room anymore. The snakes just went around everything, she's just slithered wherever she wanted. Like it just didn't. I don't know if she wasn't trying to take it out anymore or just didn't move anymore. Personally, I don't think she was taking it out anymore. I think she was more cautious about the way she moved across things personally because I don't think she liked the bookshelf falling on her and a couple other things. Like I personally, if I was her, I wouldn't have liked it either. So I give it up to praise and everything. It's cool how it all worked, but I think the reptile itself had a lot of decision in what went on, and I don't think it just dodged my stuff. But I praised God about it, even though I do believe some did occur like that. But I believe she also got better at crawling over my bookshelf and not knocking it over personally. Reptiles are very smart animals. God even says the snake is his most clever creature. So she easily figured out how to go around my room and not disturb anything. And unlike my friend, that he pushed her away when he would go to sleep and stuff like that, I did the opposite. I knew she would want the body warmth to warm up. And so every night when I would go to sleep, I would pull her towards me. She would actually put her head under my pillow, and I would just have a coil like wrapped around an arm and whatnot. And I mean, like I said, she was 16 feet long, so she went down to like my past my knee and back up again, and like was like on one side, and she'd tuck her head under the pillow, and her head then was like, it was almost as big as, actually it's bigger than my fist is right there. Like her, it was she was a big snake. She was a very big snake. But it was hilarious. Was every morning I woke up, she was coiled up on the other side of the bed. She wasn't even touching me anymore. I don't even know when she left me throughout the night, to be completely honest. I have no idea when that snake ever moved. And I cuddled it. I literally had an arm wrapped around. I was like hugged around it, and I couldn't tell you when that snake moved to the other side of the bed. But every morning I woke up, she was curled up on the other side of the bed under the blankets. And I'd reach over and rub her a little bit, and she would kind of flex some muscles at me and rub back. And then I'd go on about my day and come back home, and she'd still be warmly cuddled up there or somewhere else. And yeah, and she never, after a while, she never struck at us anything. There's a couple of times I got struck at by her, and but it was out whenever I took her like out in the front yard or the backyard, and I brought her outside and in the wildness where she could taste the air. And oh, she would go into hunt mode at times. Man, I one time I really thought she was gonna bite me, and she was at like 15, 16 feet, but she stopped right before me, like literally stopped, closed her mouth, stopped, then flicked her tongue and licked me, and I was like, "Oh, it's you," and just crawled back across my arm, and it was pretty cool. I can understand why people think it's certain sizes that they're your friend, but that's a delusion. If I was, yeah, if that snake was big enough, I would be what she was hunting in that front yard, not whatever else she's smelling for. But I was too big to be consumed as food. So there was one freaky time, a friend came over with her infant, and yeah, we couldn't find the snake. We had to find it because an infant was small enough to be on the menu. We fed her rabbits larger than that baby girl was. So yeah, we ripped the whole house apart. Could not find her anywhere. She was in the bottom of my brother's laundry hamper at the end of the hallway. She was coiled up in the bottom of it. We could not find her anywhere. A 16-foot snake is not a small thing. When she coils up, it's literally like as big as a pillow. It's not a small thing. But in the bottom of that laundry hamper, yeah, yeah. Luckily, we finally found her before. Yeah. So it was it was it was kind of a crazy one, but we didn't stop till we found the snake because there's no way the kid was going to be put in a room that the snake might be in. So, but yeah, I've had an interesting life with the variety of the things I like and stuff I do and willing to do. And yeah, and I mean, during that time period when we had that house, I was working in caterings and kitchens. I was actually working in churches, um, uh, doing their Wednesday night dinners and weddings and different things. It's where I actually first learned how to cook under a chef. She was amazing. Taught me about a lot more than just cooking too. Taught me about a lot of life principles and values and work ethic, and how no matter what's going on in life, you still have to work. And being able to do your job, period, is an important skill in life. And that it's not just a physical thing; it's a spiritual thing. Because at times you gotta spiritually do stuff whether you like it or not, and that's no different than at times you gotta do things at work you don't like, and that's just how it goes. So, um, I cherish the time period I spent in that house with my brother and best friend. We had a lot of fun. Uh, it's a great time period. All of us were like, I was the oldest one. The two of them were out of high school as well. So it was literally like bachelor pad. We actually had the landlord show up one time to do, thought he was going to pull a surprise visit on us. And fucking Buddy was passed out on the couch and faked being passed out the whole time. Blankets and pillows were everywhere. I mean, we had people over. We were doing something the night before. We were in our early 20s, so we were doing something like every night. Work didn't matter. We went to work anyways. Like that's what you did. So so yeah, he came over, did surprise visit. I came home. My buddy like tells me about it first coming in, and then I go outside and like, I'm gonna call the man because personally, I'm like, you don't just walk in my house. I understand you're the landlord and all, but I signed a lease, and the lease states that this is my home as long as I'm paying you, and I've paid you. Like, I haven't missed a payment. You have no reason or right to come over and just go in my house. Well, I go outside, and my neighbor comes over that she's been gives us vegetables out of her garden, and I mean, she's like 30s, 40s, like she's a older lady, but not like that much older, like not a grandma or anything like that. Like there's a grandma and a grandpa beside her, but grandma grandma didn't like us much because we were the skater kids and we were the punks. The grandpa kind of did like us, and he thought we were pretty cool. So we'd get in trouble every now and then with our football go in their front yard and stuff and whatnot. And if anything, I talked to him, and like his wife would like make fun of me or give us a hard time, and just be polite, nice, and yes, ma'am. Well, okay, ma'am. I'm sorry we upset you like that, but ma'am, we'll do our best to stay out of your yard and everything. You're just a little smart ass. I guess I always have been, um, but yeah, it was pretty fun. But the neighbor came over to tell me that some guy just came over in his truck and just went in your house, and I was like, yeah, it was the landlord and whatnot. I'm about to call him. She's like, oh well, yeah, I found that weird that he just came over and went in. He was like, it wasn't any of your friends. Because we've talked to her and hung out. She was a cool lady, and she watched it. She watched the house for us. When you got cool neighbors, you don't really got to worry about too much. Um, so, but next thing I know, the landlord's calling me. So I answer, and he's like, hey, I was calling you. I was like, yeah, I know. I was about to call you too. And he was like, what are you going to call me for? And I was like, to tell you, if you ever come in my house when I'm not home again, I'm calling the cops on you. He was like, huh, what? And I was like, yeah, my neighbor came over and told me you just came by today and just went inside. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal and that's trespassing. You're not allowed to just come walk in my house. I know it's your house, but I signed that paperwork and I pay you good money every month. And he didn't know what to say, especially because a 21-year-old kid was telling it that this is mine. If you think you're gonna touch it while I own it, you've lost your fucking mind. Now, we didn't renew the lease with the man. He would have gladly renewed it with us. We were good tenants. We didn't hurt his house. We were young. He was concerned. Um, After the conversation, he did say he'd put it in there and he'd make sure I was notified now. And I said, "Thank you. I would just like to make sure it's clean for you. I don't want it to look like we don't take care of your house. And I understand when you saw it this time, we had people over last night and whatnot, so it didn't look the way I would want you to see your home." And he appreciated it, and me and my brother had helped him a couple of times already. It's not like we're just kids being wild. He called us a couple of times about helping him get pine straw out of the backyard, but it was natural pine trees, and he would use it at his house he stayed at. We filled his truck up a couple of times with pine straw for him. So there's no reason for him to not communicate, in my opinion. But yeah, he thought he had some kids that he could just walk all over, though. And I'm afraid to say, even when I was younger, I'm not somebody that's going to tolerate being walked all over. But yeah, that house though is where, like, if anything, my real spirituality began. Yes, I always believed in God. Yes, I always wondered, what my purpose was and everything like that. But in that house, the girl I'd loved, we had broken up, went our separate ways, everything else. I went to alcohol, as that's what I watched my dad on. So I went to drinking. It lasted about a month, maybe a month and a half. I'd go to work, come home, drink till I fucking passed out, went to bed. Uh, yeah, it didn't last very long. And then I picked up my Bible. And when I picked up my Bible, you know, I didn't go at it to find answers. Um, I went at it more just for peace of mind, um, and to honor God. Like He's always been the thing that showed me the most fun. Like I said, I was telling stories about putting kids through walls in churches and shit. It was amazing, and all that was thanks to God, nothing else. Um, and that was my childhood. I mean, even in my opinion, handling the poisonous snakes, other things, there's so many things when I was growing up that just worked out while we played in those woods that it's like, shit doesn't just go this way. Like, it's crazy. And it was a group of us. It wasn't like it was just me and my brother. We had a variety of young kids and people in that neighborhood that we all played together in those woods. And we had BB gun wars, everything. It was freaking sweet. Like, if anything, I think kids need things like that to grow up. They need environments where it's other kids and everybody playing together and everything else. And it's a beautiful thing. Um, I kind of hate that my sons don't really have an environment that they can do something like that in themselves. But everybody grows up differently, and some of that growing up like that, it's really hard to find anymore. It's almost only really out in country communities where there still are woods around the houses, where like where I live at now and where I even grew up when I was a kid. Nowadays, it's a whole different thing. There's so much more developed and built out, and a lot of the trails, people are riding them from way down. Like, I mean, no one used to walk these trails but us, and now it's literally like half of Woodstock walks this shit. Like, it's pretty crazy. And it's life changes. It never stops. It always keeps going and going. But yeah, in that house is where, like, I was an adult, 21 there, everything else. Got on my hands and knees and well, I guess it wasn't even rededicated or anything. I just took reading scripture seriously, and I tried to learn what I needed to learn to where I didn't have to really deal with heartbreak and all that junk and whatnot like I did. At that point in time, I really didn't know that the reason why I cut myself and I was, in a sense, so odd and still felt so outcast was my depression. I didn't really learn that I had clinical depression, and that's what I've had it my whole life until like I was 32, something like that, 31, 32. I went to Ridgeview Mental Hospital because I was going to kill myself if I didn't get professional help. So I went and got professional help, and in there I learned. My mom even told me she used to like see signs when I was younger. It freaked her out because seeing your toddler act depressed, I understand where that freak a mother out really bad. So I get why she was, always hoped that she didn't see right, but when you see right, you see right. But at the same time, I'm grateful for how everything went in my life. Even some of the counseling stuff I went through in high school that made no sense to me whatsoever. Um, yeah, it all kind of added up to a point and came to a head, and especially with understanding myself more was it was like at certain parts of the review and learning about clinical depression that I have and yada yada yada. It was like a long missing piece to a puzzle that is me, and being able to see the whole picture of yourself really can help you live more freely, live more peacefully. um, Back then when I got on my hands and knees with my Bible and was brokenhearted and just wanted my heart healed, um, to me, nothing really mattered. I mean, I guess it is a redundant statement in my life that there's not a lot that really matters to me. If anything, my only goal back then, whenever like the Spirit asked me, what were you trying to achieve in life, and if anything, it would be heaven on earth, and not just the people that believe in God. Like no, everything ever created heaven on earth. Every spirit, every being, everything. But yeah, for me in scripture, that's the part that's always rubbed me wrong. Is that there's this enemy and these damned that will burn in hell forever and all that bullshit. I'm sorry, but no. If God's only capable of saving his own, then he is not fucking God. It's that simple. If he is God, then he will save all things, because he created all things. And that's my opinion. Like, I love scripture and everything like that, but to paint God out to have this mortal enemy, the devil, and that the devil's got this and blah blah blah. I'm sorry, you do not understand what a creator is. And there's only one of those. Like there is the creator that created everything, and then there's the creation. Nothing within the creation can create. We have babies, but is that really us creating anything? Or is that they're still being flesh and spirits on the earth? So, people think they're in control or, leading their own lives, the master of their own destiny. Yeah, I mean, in the largest sense, we all can be for like 80 years, maybe 100. But for me, I don't care. Like, in my opinion, 80 years to 100, it's the same as 40 or 60. It's really irrelevant. Like, it's over with so fast. Like, I mean, I'm already 40, so I'm halfway there. So it's like, I don't even feel like I'm 40, so I really don't understand how it's gonna be here before I fucking know it. but at the same time, like, I mean, that's life. So, but I believe in eternity, and personally, I believe these bodies were meant to be around a lot longer than what people comprehend. But these are just my speculations. It's not like you can have any proof to spirituality or proof to what's real in faith. That's the thing about faith, it's what you believe. And we're all entitled to our own beliefs. But a lot of people do have something confused. There's only one thing God ever created that has free will. And it's us. It's man. It's man and woman. It's intelligent being that actually pays attention to the world around it. It's not an animal. Yeah, it functions higher. maybe there are aliens out there. I honestly believe so. Like I think honestly reincarnation is a larger part of life than people realize. But when we die here, we're born in another world farther out in the universe. The next one that creation is taken hold of. And yeah, I doubt we look the same. I bet we look completely freaking different. If anything, horns and cool shit, and spit acid and shit. But that's my own personal speculation. It's not like I got any proof to be able to be like, no, this is how it is. And I'm not stupid enough to say anyone can. Like, you people act like you know. Oh, I know what's going on. I know it. I know it. No, you don't. None of us do. Because try and grasp what it is to be the creator of everything. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. You can't. Like, it's like people, well, if we're in the image of God, then like we're gods. Okay, yeah, but if you're a god, then make something, Mr. God. You can. You make another baby, but that's only because you're genetically designed to do that. Yeah, like we can't just put our hands together and make something. You can't snap your fingers and there's a tossed salad. Alright, you might be able to pull that one off, but also can't. Yeah. But yeah, that's like where things start over. I started, I guess, my real walk of faith. A lot of people say what you learn as a child you'll go back to. Some of that depends. I did try the alcohol first. I tried the hurt, broken that my father did first. It just wasn't for me. Substances have never been for me. I guess it's some of the depression that I already dealt with. I knew that if I did that shit, I was just gonna kill myself. Like, there was no point. I just, why waste time? Just fucking kill myself. But I've never wanted to give in to desires like that personally. If anything, I would really wanted to master desires, period, and not give in to them. But at the same time, life is boring without desires and fulfilling desires. It is a very satisfying thing, and I have to say I'm very grateful because God is so real that the Creator is there. Because if anything, He's really taught me how to live life the most that I can and honor Him. And a lot of people really would debate the second part, that that's possible, that I can live the way I do, talk the way I do, and behave the way I do, and I actually honor God. But a lot of them are holding it to their standards, but I hold life to God's standards, not my own. If anything, my own standards of life are a lot simpler, and it's just to love and have fun and be fucking nice. I don't understand why people gotta be so mean to each other. I really don't get it. That's why I know I could never save the world, because I could never get people to be nice. Like, you guys just like being assholes to be assholes at times. It really seems like everybody could be agreeing, and someone else doesn't have to be like, well, because y'all all agree, I need to disagree. and if anything, I relate to that because I would be the asshole thinking I need to disagree, but everybody agrees. So it's really like, I get the conundrum in life. I really do. I really do. And same with dealing with people. It's like dealing with myself. It sucks. Besides, I guess it's kind of changed some for me now because I'm no longer depressed. It does make things a lot more entertaining for me without having to try. But so that was like in my 21s, 22s. At that same time period, there was something other crazy spiritual thing that happened. I thought I was gonna like hear God audibly in my head for the first time. Like, get to actually hear God in my head. Blah blah blah. Shit's impossible. If you've ever wanted that shit and shit like that, it doesn't work, and you really don't want it. Like, he's more like a fucking cokehead that won't shut up the whole time anyway, so you really don't want him uttering all the time. If anything, having to quietly listen to him, for him to quietly speak back, is the most beautiful way. Like, it really is. And that's why he said you have to be quiet and still and listen, and I will speak. But it really is gentle shit. You can't mimic it. You can't rip it off. You can't do it. That's what makes it, God's voice. Uh, Personally, I just wanted to be able to, like him be able to be like, do this, and me be able to be like, yes. But that's not what went on. When I thought it was gonna, that's what was gonna go down. I ended up actually giving my soul away. Yeah, yeah. I honestly, I've never understood what a soul is. Um, I've never understood the value behind a soul. I've always seen myself as a spirit in flesh. Where soul comes into play, I don't know. I still really don't know. And honestly, I don't care. Like I said, I struggle with some of this caring shit in certain areas, because if it doesn't, pay attention to what, something I care about, I lose interest very, very fast. So, apparently I have a soul. We all have souls. They're a very important part of our makeup as a being. But yeah, I don't know what it's for, and I don't really give a shit. Um, I'm a spirit, and I look like this. But yeah, so I gave it away, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. If anything, actually, whenever it all happened, I thought I was being given something, and I thought it was the Leviathan, and I thought I was, it's this big spiritual creature, and I thought I was getting it, and it was like mine. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna tame you. You're just gonna be my pet. It's gonna be so much fun. I love reptiles too. You're so cool. I really am like a relentless maniac when it comes to anything cool. And, for me, it was God giving it to me. So how can it hurt me? Come on. You can't hurt me. That's silly, dog. You're a present from God. And there's no such thing as getting hurt. So, yeah. But that was my self-created delusion of what was going on, was the Leviathan thing. Unless it really did go on, I don't know. It's hard to tell spiritually sometimes what really goes on. But I did find out years later what I'd actually done was given my soul away, and I actually had to reclaim it and give it back to the Father, because our souls are supposed to stay in His hands. They're not supposed to be anywhere else. And I would never, you know, put it anywhere else personally. I mean, I gotta say, if I was asked for my soul, which I remember like somewhat of the conversation, and I wasn't asked for my soul. Nothing asked me for my soul. If anything, it was, would you do something? And I said yes. like before I could even finish what it was fucking saying. Um, yeah, I cut it off. Like, that's not a smart thing either. You should actually listen all the way through. Kind of like reading the service agreement before agreeing to it. That really is a smart thing. Like, it is good to understand what you're agreeing to before agreeing. I didn't care, so I just agreed. Uh, yeah, I have a repetitive habit of some of that stuff, the not caring and just doing it. Yeah. It's very, very, very repetitive habit of mine. Um, so yeah, it was pretty crazy. I really thought I was possessed. I don't know exactly totally what went on, but my brother and friend at the time both they thought I was possessed too. It was pretty nuts. My parents actually performed an exorcism on me. I've brought it up before. They don't remember it, and I'm pretty sure I get why they don't remember it, because when they were doing it, um, it was like in my spirit, like, you have to stop them. This can't go on. It needs to be stopped. And I was like, okay, well, that's going to be tricky and interesting. And the fact is that I've always been a believer. Like, if anything is in control of my life, then it is God Almighty and Jesus Christ. And I call him Yeshua, actually, because he's a Jew. He's not American, so he has a Jew name. And it's Yeshua. And Adonai is the one I call. God, but Adonai, Yeshua, and so they were doing the exorcism on me, and my body was shaking like a leaf. Like I couldn't control it; it was just fucking vibrating. And they had their hands on me, and they were going, and they were praying, and then cast it out. And in the middle of them doing it, my body shaking, I said, "Jesus, quit tickling me." And the moment I said that, my body went completely still. Their mouths dropped. Stop. Dead sentence. Everything stopped. I go, I have to go. Got up and left. Oh, they still didn't. They were dumbfounded. They didn't know what the fuck to think. I had a big pit bull in the car. It was a friend's dog, and I had a friend's car. I had to, the dog was barking as I was walking out of the car, because they followed me out. We're like, "Are you sure you're okay?" Yada yada. I was like, "I'm great. I told you, I'm completely fine. It's all right." Dog barking, so I leave. Interrupted it, stopped it from whatever. I don't know. In my opinion, they would have never been able to do anything because of the fact that it was something me and God were doing. So it was out of their hands to try and do an exorcism or remove it from me or anything like that. They would have never been able to. If anything, it only got worse as it farther went on, because they weren't fasting, they weren't doing anything. They were just praying over their child they were concerned about, and the child kind of knew a little more about spirituality than they did, and I was living by faith a lot more than most anyone ever has been willing to. Not many people would take on a massive spiritual monster without any concern for their physical well-being. Most people would consider that insanity and freak out and lose their mind, not be able to put a cap on it and maintain life and live. Now, I will say this: it was a couple years from when that happened to me getting a job again and actually being a functioning member of society. For the largest point, I really couldn't control tendencies and influences. And if anything, I was influencing things very negatively, as in I made people kind of behave worse. They would be, meaner. They would say uglier things. They'd be more condescending. Like it was pretty intense. The soul really is like the I guess the log pose, the guide of the flow of energy or whatever. I really don't know. I just know that with it in the darkness instead of the light, yeah, I just magnified everything dark. Like it was pretty crazy. And spiritually, I felt like I was in the abyss. I was in the darkness, the void itself. And I guess it really didn't matter to me because it felt the same as my depression. And void, negativeness. Don't feel shit anyway, so what's the fucking matter? So yeah, that was like, it was interesting. And it really was a spiritual being. If I really comprehended what was going on, what did happen, I really did cut the thing to pieces and section it up really, really good, like refeed it to everybody that had parts of them devoured by it. But again, spiritual thing, and how do you prove spiritual shit? Like, if I can figure that out one day, it'll be an interesting day. But at the same time, it was kind of cool because that thing, it's still alive in here today. Like I'm not one to kill things. Period. I really don't like killing stuff, especially spiritually. I would never kill spiritually. And it's kind of funny because Leviathan isn't supposed to eat us or the things that it had been fed. So it was kind of cool that actually straightening all that out helped straighten it out, and it made it where it could be the thing it was supposed to be. It's really cool. It was a really cool experience. Um, I did learn a lot of spiritual stuff during that time period. If anything, I do get where people talk about astral projection and out of body stuff and whatnot. Like I do get all that spiritual things. I've been to a lot of places spiritually, none of which are actually in this world. I've never been anywhere else in this world spiritually besides where my body goes. I don't travel the earth spiritually. If you do hear or you recognize my voice or some shit, then spiritually you heard me here, not anywhere else. Because if you got spiritual ears, you'll hear it here. I spiritually hear stuff a variety of times, and it can freak you out and trip you out. It's weird. Definitely is weird. Spirituality is a very unique thing. Spiritual things are very unique things, and it can be freaky at times. But like I said, getting scared is part of life. You only know you're alive when you get a little scared. But at the same time, it's not like being scared is a bad thing. No, I'm not a horror movie person. I do not like being scared. My children can make me jump just by popping up behind me. They know it too, and they like to do it. And I love them for it. They're hilarious. But it doesn't change the fact that I'm not one to risk my life or put things in chance. Life's too precious to leave it to chance. But so that was like my early 20s, mid 20s to later 20s was that, because it was 9 years that actually before I reclaimed my soul. I was like 21, 22 when I did that. I got it back when I was like 28, 29, something like that. 30 maybe. I think it was like 2 years after I got it back that I ended up going to Ridgeview. It was also like when my wife left me and I told her that I cheated on her and yada yada yada, and she decided she wasn't not gonna forgive me or anything else. I'm just a piece of shit. So she went back to her parents and everything like that. And yeah, interesting time period. Because it's like you think you know things about stuff, and then it's like life itself. You never fucking know. It's really is like a runaway roller coaster. At least in my life, that's very much what it's felt like, is like a runaway roller coaster. Any times or aspects that I've thought I've understood what's going on in it, I don't have a fucking clue. And if anything, getting older, I don't care about having a clue anymore. The only thing I care about is stability. Being able to maintain doing cool shit, which is a wide range of things. So that's part of the reason behind the company, and I'm trying to stabilize and have a certain foundation in this world where I have the freedom to financially or spiritually or whatever the fuck I want to do. And it takes time to build. I'm completely honest. This first 40 years of my life, I have not given two shits about finances or making money. I have made enough to get by and live and take care of what I've needed to take care of. Other than that, money is fucking meaningless to me. I do not give two shits about it. But at the same time, the world I live in very much, is driven by it. The more fun shit you want to do, the more money it's going to cost you. Or crazier thing you want to do, it's going to cost you some money. So, next 40 years is about stacking money, because I already cleared spirituality out, in my opinion. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm very good at it. I can actually call bullshit 9 times out of 10 than not. There's only a few people that can kind of mess with me spiritually, and most of the time they don't even realize it. But yeah. So I'm working on the financial aspects of life now, and I think as I gather and accomplish some of that, I might be going after a few other different things, but we'll have to see. Because that's later in life, and right now we're just talking about what I've been through so far. So, um, my oldest was born 2012. My youngest was born 2014. My ex left me like 6 months after, not even, like 4 months, 4 or 5 months after my youngest was born, and went back to her parents' house. And it was pretty much later that summer. I was done. Like, it didn't fucking matter to me anymore. Nothing mattered to me anymore. Especially this boy's gone, and she wanted to just fight. And I'm sorry, but being a dad, my sons, they're really the only. That's only been the bread and butter in my life. I have a girl now, Jessica, that I love, and she's amazing, and I love the fact that I get to interact with her every day and talk to her and do stuff with her, and I cheer her up, and it's fun, and I love it. But at the same time, I'm sorry, but the love of a woman and the love between a man and a woman doesn't come close to me to a father and a son, or a father and a daughter. And I haven't actually been able to have a daughter, but I've lost my brother and I've lost my brother-in-law, and their children are still here. And those little girls and those little boys, um, I may only be their uncle, but I'll tell you this much: they're gonna know the love of a father, not just an uncle. That's never gonna change. Little kids are amazing. But it was then that when she left that I was done. So I told my parents that I needed to get professional help, or I was going to kill myself, and there wasn't going to be anything they could do to stop it. So um, they set up for me to be able to talk to their physician, and so I went and talked to him, and he was pretty funny actually, because he was like, I told him, I was ready to kill myself. He was like, well, I don't really fix the brain. It's a little outside of my area. I normally just give medicine to help fix the body. I said, yeah, I thought so too, but I heard that you could give me a reference somewhere where they try to fix the brain. He said, yeah, you need to go to Ridgeview. So, yeah, I wrote out a little reference, so I went down there and talked to them, and they checked me in, and spent 7 days in there, which is about the longest you can stay in there. It's pretty hard to actually exceed 7 days in most mental institutions like Ridgeview, because they're pretty much an ICU where they get you better, smack you on the ass, and send you out the door. They don't really cater to keeping people long term. They might have a few. There was one guy in there that he was in there before I got there, and he was still there when I was leaving. But he was not very receptive to receiving treatment. He was trying to act like he had it all figured out and everything. And yeah, that's no such thing. No one has everything all figured out. So, but I went in there, and I actually met crazy. I thought I was crazy. Clinical depression and all. It makes you feel pretty crazy, but man, in there, I met crazy. Like, people with legitimate psychosis, where there is no reality. That it's hard to put this, because it really is like their reality is a lot different than what we can even fathom in reality. Because I'm a pretty spiritual person, and a couple of those guys were saying some pretty spiritual things. But at the same time, it was diluted and it was crossed, and they didn't know what the fuck they were saying. And it showed in the way they talked and the way they did things. And it was real crazy because, they come in like me, batshit crazy, ready to kill yourself or acting fucking insane. They get on their meds 3 days later, and they're like a normal person. Like, if anything, some of them are really cool people. Like, talking to them and hanging out with them and whatnot before they got released, I was literally like, dude, I would have never ever dreamed. And a couple of them were literally like, that's medication, man. It really helps me. And I was like, damn, that's intense, bro. And some of them, it's not even like they try to stop taking it. It's just like stuff happens, Trying to take one thing every day at the same time, that shit's not easy. It's harder than most people think. But most people don't do just one thing at one time unless it's something they want. And if it's something you want, it's easy to do that. But if it's something you need or you have to have, it's very hard to do it every day at the exact same time, all the time. Because life changes every day. It's pretty crazy. But so in there, I really did. In there, it was pretty funny because I was in there with a mix of people on, heroin and drugs being detoxed, chemically detoxed, and then people straight for psychosis and mental things and everything like that. And one guy was in there and he didn't really have a bunch of things, but they had him in there under depression and whatnot. But he lost a child and he was ready to hurt himself or someone else. He was not in a good place. And I knew depression well enough, so luckily me and him talked, and he let me actually talk to him a little bit about it and tell him how I felt. And he really, it was cool because we had respect for each other as normal people. He even told me, he's like, bro, you feel like the most normal dude in here. And I was like, well, bro, right back at you. He was like, okay, so not really crazy. And, it was fun. Me and him had a good talk. We also we were two of the ones that were only in there really for psych issues, even though I have drug abuse history. Not with anything crazy hard or anything, even though I have tried more drugs than not. But me and him weren't on any real psych meds or any heart meds or anything like that. So they let us actually go play in the gym one day, and me and him were racing each other around the damn gym. Bro, I've never had my heart try and beat out of my chest so fast. Like, me and him were literally, he was like fucking the same way. He was pumped as hell. It was amazing because we had literally been stuck inside for 3 or 4 days at that point. And for me, that's normally outside. Being institutionalized like that and stuck in confined areas and I don't get a choice, it really can it can bring out the darker side of me where it's literally no, if I want to go out that door, there's none of y'all are gonna stop me. And some of the guards laughed at me and they were like, dude, I'll open it, you can go out there, but we're gonna chase you down and shit. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to go through all that. But yeah, me and him, we had a great talk, and I was able to get him to realize that it was depression, and it was a good thing for him to be in there, or else he probably would have killed himself because he wouldn't have been able to find a way to fill that void. And it's not like I helped him fill the void. I just helped him come to terms with it. Reality is a motherfucker, but at the same time, you're still here, you still have loved ones. There's not like that was the only one. And he was mourning a child, and that is not something I really want to learn about. I honestly really hope that I die before my children do. If that's the way it's meant to be, I very much hope is them burying me, not me burying them. And my father and my mother have had to experience what it is to bury one of their own children, so I very much hope I do not have to experience that myself. But you just never know in life. You really never know. And I don't know. And I won't know unless I finally go and they're still here. Then I'll know for a fact that I didn't have to. But I won't know until that day. You know what I mean? You never know. You can't count your eggs until they're hatched. You can't eat your chicken until you kill it. Maybe you could eat it alive. I wouldn't, but I guess you could if you're crazy. But so in Ridgeview, I also met a really nice Jewish lady, and she was really cool. She was dealing with something super crazy though. I don't totally know what it is, but she couldn't go to sleep. Her brain would not go into REM sleep. And apparently that shit's more dangerous than almost anything else. She was on the verge of death because she could not sleep. She actually got a couple of nights of solid sleep in there, but they were chemically inducing her and they were monitoring her and her vitals and everything else. So they were actually able to put her to sleep and let her get like 6 hours. But I mean, it was intense, and she was a healthy woman. She had her water bottle, everything. She had to walk laps in there too because she's like me. She's not used to being stuck in one place, and you can't go anywhere else. But me and her, we clicked pretty well, and a large part is because she believes in Adonai, as the God of the Jews, and so do I, and so me and her talked a good bit about different things, and she wanted to know my life story, and I told her a good bit about my testimony or whatever. But she was asking me advice in there about like, well, my kids are like 16, 17, 18, 19, whatnot. They're not young anymore. They're going into adults. Like, some of them are smoking weed and stuff. Like, what's your opinion? What do you think? Yada yada yada. You're that age, or well, I was a little younger, but she was like, but you smoke weed and you're open about it and everything like that. I was like, yeah, I do, and everything. And I asked her this. I asked her what was more important to her. Is it more important to you for your children to be honest with you and you be able to have an honest opinion with them? Or is it more important to you to, your children tell you the truth and you maintain the parent role, where you say that's good, that's yeah, yada yada yada. And she said she'd rather just genuinely be able to know what's going on with her kids and them genuinely be able to talk to her. And I was like, well, then you don't really get a say so, and if it's something they should or shouldn't do in their life. If you didn't genuinely want to know what they're doing and be able to give a genuine opinion, then you have to let them do what they want to do and share it with you. Because them sharing it with you, you can share your opinion and you can say how that's not something you would totally do, but that's their choice. And most of the time, a lot of us, knowing it's our choice and knowing that our loved ones got an opinion, most of the time we're gonna lean towards the thing that would make the people happy that we love, because it makes us feel good for them to feel good. And as men, we're, at least me as a man, I really thrive in taking care of those I love, whether it's needs physically or spiritually. Being able to be there for them means more to me than being able to be like, I'm this cool dude that I make shit at. Like, that doesn't even matter to me. Being able to make my nephews laugh or make my sons excited about exploring a forest, hunting for salamanders, those things outweigh anything. Even if I won the fucking lottery, I'd still be bringing my kids to do that shit. And some of that shit doesn't even cost money. So that's why it's like, certain aspects of trying to financially grow in certain areas, it's more to give my kids toys I didn't have as I was growing up, like motorcycles, four-wheelers, racing go-karts, being able to build our own tracks to race on and shit, be able to build our own jumps. I mean, we already got really super cool remote control cars that I didn't have those type of things with my dad and whatnot. And we already race those things until we break them. Like, and they know it. We break them, dad fix them. That's how it go. Uh, and that's it's just the type of dad I've wanted to be. Is one that is I teach my kids lessons and values. I made it very clear to them. I have two boys, and I've told them the whole time that my rules aren't really going to change with you. Because the entire time I've been raising you, I haven't been raising boys. I've been raising men, and just because they were young doesn't mean they weren't men. So I'm very much stuck with the fact that you're a freaking man. I've always treated them like men. So, and they're little kids, so I let them be little kids. It's not like I harp them for responsibility and all that junk. But at the same time, they're men. And then like women are women, men are men, and you don't get a choice in it. You are where you are. I do understand some people that that is a woman in a man's body and that is a man in a woman's body. It's very odd. Chemical makeup of the brain is a crazy thing. I mean, if the largest sense, that's what's controlled my depression my entire life, but it's all of a suddenly changed. So I haven't heard anything from the doctor yet about my thyroids went nuts or anything. And from my understanding, the thyroid's what controls all the chemicals in your brain. So, and I still don't feel depressed, and it's been like three almost. I think we're going on week 4, so which is kind of really cool actually, because it's like and I can't go backwards, and I'm trying. I don't really want to think like I used to think, anyways, but some of it has been very challenging because 40 years thinking one way and it changes on you. You almost have to like refigure out how you even fucking lived life. It's kind of crazy. Which is somewhat what sparked these spirituality videos and doing this super long one. Whoever watches this shit at 2 hours, I'm sorry. It's like a biography of my life, so it's gonna be long as fuck. I'm sorry. But in there is where I really like the last few puzzle pieces of who I was came together, and that was at 31, 32. That lady was super cool. She really, a lot of people in there, because I was taking my mental health so seriously, and because I was taking their classes and not making a joke out of it, but giving it the due respect it deserved. It seemed like there was a variety of people in there that decided to take their mental health far more seriously, and I think there's a few of them that literally it changed their lives because they decided themselves to take it seriously, and a large part of our lives is deciding to take things seriously. Now, I am a big giant little kid. If you ask me, I don't feel old. Maybe 12, 13. I mean, my body does have aches and cricks. Like, it's been around for a while. I can't jump on a trampoline very long, certain stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm going to start doing yoga and stuff. And I think I can probably get this thing to feeling pretty freaking sweet. And to me, that's crazy because of the fact that I am a 40-year-old man. But at the same time, I think if I do a little bit of work with this thing, get its flexibility back and whatnot, I can give my children a run for their money. And they're 12 and or not 12, 10 and 11 and 9. 11 and 9 this year. I think they're 12 and 10. I think I can give them a run for their money. They got a little more energy than me, a little more endurance. But I think if I can strengthen this thing right in a couple areas, mainly my core, because I've done some pretty bad back damage to myself. I've blown out some disc and stuff. So there's certain things that you just can't get over. You hurt yourself certain ways, like my knee. I've blown my knee out too. There's a bad ligament in it. There's a couple of doctors that have said that I need to have some surgeries, but I'm just not big on surgeries. I'm a very organic person. I believe injuries occur and you go on. I do get by with these things. I still lift heavy stuff. Like, I mean, I do labor for a living in the largest part. But at the same time, it's like my body is very robust, and it's not very developed right now, in my opinion. It is somewhat developed, but I live an active lifestyle, and I am pretty. I control my food intake pretty well, where I only really give it stuff that will make it thrive. I don't overeat or anything, so I don't really have excess body weight. Uh, but but yeah, I think I can give them a run for their money while they're still kids at 40 and be like, no, 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 I'll teach you how to be able to be like this too, but you got to respect that thing now. Um, so, you know, I got kind of sidetracked there. The little lady was very nice, and she did decide that she would rather be able to have open conversations with her children and know what they're doing over be the one that says that's good, that's bad. Uh, because she did recognize and likes the fact that her children do like her opinion and they do ask her opinion. So she did decide that she would rather, but they were transferring her out of there. I actually had to skip a class in order to talk to her, but she was going to be leaving before I would have been like back and stuff. So, but they transferred her over to like Phoenix to be a part of another study, because apparently what was going on with her was something really rare, and scientists were all over that shit like flies on shit. Like it was pretty something. But it was cool that she got a couple nights worth of sleep though, and she was still like she can't control it though. Like, you know what I mean? Like her body wasn't going in REM sleep, and apparently that'll kill you. I didn't know that. I thought, what the hell's the matter? But apparently, yeah, if you don't have enough REM sleep every night, you can fucking die. It's crazy shit. But but yeah, she was cool. She was a little lady too. I really liked her. She was one of the people that said that I should have started stuff like this a long time ago. Same with this little old lady in spirituality 101. Ridgeview had a spirituality class, and it was a 101 class for basic spirituality. And that's I gave a reference about people that would go out in nature and stuff. Well, in the spirituality class, well, there were people talking about how, like, God or faith is a spiritual thing and blah blah blah. And there's somebody in there that they didn't believe in God. They don't believe in a higher power, and I respect that personally. Truly, I believe in God, and that's my own thing, my own way of life. But I do believe that all of us have our own right to believe what we please. You don't believe in a higher power, don't believe in a fucking higher power. That's your choice. Like, and I love that people get their own choices. Um, but she always said that when she was bike riding and out on the trails and in nature and everything like that, if there was anything she would say was like feeling God or feeling at one with, something larger than herself, it was why she was mountain biking and out on those trails and everything like that. And I said, well, if anything, that's your spirituality. And I gave an example to all of them because they were taking our opinions. So I raised my hand and was like, well, in my opinion, spirituality is individuality. And if anything, spirituality is when you're riding your bike in the woods and you feel that serenity and adrenaline, and you just feel amazing just pedaling away, and like life couldn't be any prettier. You're with other prayer warriors and you're deep in it and you're saving souls that you don't even know where the fuck they are. Like, both are spirituality, both are individuality. And to say that you're not with your higher power while you're riding your bike is to say that you're not with your higher power while you're saving souls. Like, no one has the right to say either one is any greater than the other, because you don't know if it's God riding that bike with her. And I would hope like hell it's God with those people saving the souls. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, how do you know? But for me, that's what makes spirituality so cool. Because, how do you know? And for me, I feel like I know a lot about spirituality, but it's only more because I've put myself in it and I put myself out there and I've felt it with my own spirit. I do understand what it feels like to have someone come down on you spiritually and you feel that overbearing pressure. I do understand it, but I do understand also all too well that anything that wants to bear down on me isn't of what I love, so I don't really have to care. I don't have to hurt it. I don't have to do anything to it, but it can't do anything to me either. And if it wants to try, I'm always open to spiritual conflicts. I love them personally. They're my favorite thing because it helps me grow. So, but most things, they don't like to find conflict with me, really, especially spiritually. And it normally has to do with the fact that they feel like I'm too rough. And I just play too hard. I've been compared to a pit bull with a squeaky toy. I just throw it around. And it's who I am. But I don't know. I've though at times I feel like I've lived in a different world than everyone else because of the way I've lived my life. And the same with the things I've dealt with. Not everyone feels like they want to murder themselves every day they wake up. Or just is waiting for the day they don't wake up. Most people aren't waking up to see if today's the last time this occurs. Um, well, and for me, that's been my life up to this point. But it's so weird to be excited about tomorrow, to be excited about what life will bring. It's so foreign to me. It's exciting. I don't think I'll ever get tired of it either. Like, I was tired of my depression. I don't lie. That shit bored the hell out of me, if anything. This is a lot more invigorating and exciting. But I do wonder, though, what is coming and what's going to go on. Because spiritually, I don't know if there's anything else for me to play with. I think I've kind of played with it all. So, we'll have to see. I'm sure God's hiding some stuff out there for me. He's always got something up his sleeve. But so, in Ridgeview, actually, it's how I learned how I know what I feel right now. It was the first time I woke up happy in my entire life. Was in Ridgeview, and I was acclimated to the medicine at day 6. I woke up in there and I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" The guy was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Bro, I feel like I'm on so many drugs right now. Like, it's euphoric. Like, it's fucking crazy. And I got so much energy. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with myself?" And he's like, you feel manic? Like, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "No, I don't feel manic. Like, my mind isn't racing. I'm at peace and I'm calm as can be. But I'm overflowing with energy. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to go to sleep tonight." He was like, "Serious?" I was like, "Yeah, I might need to do some yoga shit, get myself to relax." He was like, "Well, you're gonna have to figure that shit out. You still gotta go to sleep." I was like, "Yeah, I know I do, but fuck, what the hell?" And that was when I started taking Lexapro and Remeron for my depression and sleep aid. And I took those for about 3.5, almost 4 months, until I was great during the day, but the moment that sunset, I wanted to drag a knife across my wrist, and I was like, "Fuck this." And I said, "No more medication. I don't care to be a living science experiment, and I don't care to take a risk with something that I don't have to risk." Depression does suck. I will not try and sugarcoat it. I won't try and make it out to be better or worse than what it is. It's hell, especially clinical depression, where the chemical imbalance in your brain is not right. It's hell, and it's not just hell on you; it's hell on your loved ones. It really is a shit show, and it's not the only mental illness that's that way. Bipolar and a variety of other are just as much of a shit show. It's our brains are so crazy with how they work. Um, Personally, I was very grateful that I could actually function without needing medication. Bipolar and a few others, you really can't actually live a normal life without being on your medicine and taking it properly and finding the right medicine for you. And it's not easy, and it sucks. It sucks so much. Um, and I feel for other people that deal with it, especially because I really know what it's like. But it's life. All our lives are different. We all have different things we have to deal with and overcome, and yeah, it's really like the same for all of us, but we feel it in different ways. Even if you feel amazing every day, you wake up and, like I said, sobriety to you feels like you're fucking high on ecstasy. Like, it doesn't change the fact that you still have things you have to deal with and overcome that you don't like and you don't want to. That you don't get, or you don't, why? What's that? Why do I have to deal with this? And that's just part of life for all of us. All of us got shit we got to deal with we don't want to. And it's different for each of us. And I've always been grateful that the largest part and the biggest problem I've ever had in my life has been money. I really, getting more money or paying for stuff, that's been the biggest problem in my life. Otherwise, I mean, like, I guess I have clinical depression, so it's not like I didn't have other problems, but at the same time, to me, it's not like that was a problem. It was just part of who I am. And I really do believe that it helped sculpt some of the outlook I have on life, and some of the way I perceive things, because I didn't want to let living in darkness dilute my eyes. I didn't want to take the glow from somebody else, but I didn't glow. So it's it's a weird conundrum, weird feeling. Um, but since then, and my ex leaving me and me ready to kill myself and going to Ridgeview, and waking up to happy for the first time in my whole life. And I will say this: I did wake up like feeling good every day until the medication. It wasn't like when I woke up it was shit. It was at nighttime. Like, I'd get home from work, the sun would set, and I'd want to slip my wrist to go to bed. And that's what made me be like, all right, I'm done taking this shit. And yeah, I, I guess I do have a strong willpower and a strong consciousness, because I never took my life. And honestly, what I've went through in the last 4 fucking weeks has been way crazier. Way crazier than anything else I've been through in my entire life. Like, it has been fucking ridiculous. And actually, I've had a lot of fun. And I can't make sense of half of it, so it was very spiritual. But at the same time, I don't really want to understand totally what happened. I never really care to know totally what's going on. It's a lot more fun to me to not know exactly what's going on. I like it. I like the unknown. Most people get scared of it. They're terrified of the unknown. So, but yeah, since getting out of Ridgeview and whatnot, I pretty much have just been maintaining work and playing with my kids. That time they were still young. They were, Benjamin was literally infancy. I got him back and saw him again at like 10 months. She left with him at like 4, so it was like 6 months that I didn't get to see him. maybe a little longer. And I finally got to see him back then, but it was like kind of damage was already done. Like, who's this guy? Um, and then, yeah, I played with the kids. Got them every weekend. No questions asked every weekend. And then I maintained zoo and aquarium memberships and brought them to either or, like pretty much every other weekend, twice a month, if not like almost every weekend. During different time periods, it was almost every weekend, but it was like over trying to figure out something to do with them. We just go to the zoo or the aquarium, and I had the season passes, so it's like, membership didn't cost, or entry didn't cost anything or anything. We pack snacks and food, bring a stroller. They were still, Malachi's 2 years older than Benjamin, so they were still little. So you can get away with a lot with little kids, no joke. Like especially if you're actually, legit parent and care and trying to have fun with them and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot. Like, people really do actually look out for each other, and especially families. Uh, I really feel sorry people that want to start screwing with families, because I really feel like at certain places and certain events that are more family oriented and people are having fun, you go screw with that, you're probably gonna get hurt. As people are getting very defensive about their fun, and I get it. I mean, fun's the last thing you should ever fuck with. You want to fuck with fun, you are asking to get, beat up really really bad. But yeah, it's been cool, and watching those little boys grow up has just been awesome. Especially because it's like, they're my sons, so I don't know how many people out there watch this or whatnot that ever realize that with your own kids, it always feels like the apple didn't fall very far from the tree. They might be a little different, but they're damn near just like their parents. And they take after their mother too, in so many ways. And she will fight it at times and deny it, but at the same time she's like, no, fuck, that's my kid. And I'm like, uh-huh. Um, she doesn't like she thinks I'm a bad parent, and I don't parent very well or whatnot, yada yada yada. Like, we're exes and we're not together for a reason. We have different outlooks and views on life, and my way not be respected, but that's fine. I'm used to not being respected by lots of people, so it really is irrelevant to me. But I do make it mandatory for my sons to respect their mother, and I do show them that will respect what she asks to a degree. I do not respect everything she asks, because she can kiss my white ass. She respected me more, I would consider everything she asked, but she doesn't want to respect me at all. So, in fact, I respect her, period, is all she's getting. Um, but I do. It is mandatory my sons respect their mother, whether they like it or not. And I'll honestly, I've told them respecting me is something you gotta do to be able to stand before God. But at the same time, you ought to know all too well that respecting me is a very easy thing. And that's where my sons do agree that I don't make it very hard. I don't make it challenging for them to get my respect, or for me to be proud of them. I'm very proud of my sons already and the way they are. And a lot of people think that, well, teenage years, my kids can fucking do whatever they want. I could have to bury both of them. I'll still be proud of them. Like, they're mine. I'm never not gonna be proud of those boys. And I don't care what lives they live, as long as they live life. That's all I care about. Other people get caught up with, achieving these goals, making this thing, putting your mark in history. Fuck all that. I don't care. If anything, I like the idea of incognito, where no one even fucking knows who I am, personally. I saved the whole fucking world countless times, but I would be Clark Kent. Superman saved the world. But I'm an oddity like that. most people that especially gain spiritual authority and influence like I have would be out to, be the number one pastor ever seen. I make movements to God, bitches. Eh. To me, it's like it's a facade. Like that's if you're out for that, then you're not out for what the real fun is. Because for me, it's about the fun, and I'm afraid to say I've never had a better playmate, and I've never played with anything more fun than the fucking thing that made everything. God has entertained me and made my life more fun than anything else ever has. And I'm curious to see where things go and what's to come. Especially because I know my sons are only growing up and they're very spiritual already. So I'm very curious to see what occurs and what happens and what goes on. Especially because I've been able to spiritually show people things. I haven't really had anyone been able to spiritually show me anything. So I'm really, really curious to what's planned for the future. Which will come at some point now. Like, it just did. And then it went. It's the past already. Isn't that crazy? The future, the present, the past. All within 5 seconds. But, so, yeah, I don't know how well of a biography that was. I wasn't very detailed in some things, all because I am a private person. But, if anything, I just turned 40 this year. The last little bit, the review at 32 and whatnot, was a little while ago. But I haven't. It's not like there's been any crazy events. I mean, I lived with a buddy. I lived on my own. Had a couple of dogs. Like, I mean, it's not like crazy anything intense has went on besides like my brother passing and my brother-in-law passing and my nephews and nieces becoming a much larger part of my life because they don't have their large male role models anymore. And if anything, one thing I've always wanted to be my whole life, and I feel like God's allowed me to be it at a really younger age. Like my mom used to dump kids off on me, and I hated it because she would volunteer to babysit these children, and next thing I know, she would decide she's going to do something else, and I'm going to watch the kids. And I was like, Mom, you suck. Mainly because she was force volunteering me, not because I had to watch kids. I loved playing with the kids, and she knew it. That's why she'd do it to me. She knew the kids would have fun, and I wouldn't complain other than, why the hell do you volunteer to babysit these kids to give them to me? And she tried to say, give me practice, and I looked at her and said, I don't need fucking practice. I'm good with kids. And she just laughed at me. But kids to me are the fun in life. That imagination, I wonder what they're seeing half the time. Like, God, I built a sandbox in the backyard for my nephews, and my nephew Waylon is 4, and my other 2 nephews are 2, about to be 3, and I told them we're gonna build sandbox. And Mom got some sand, and we're gonna build some sandbox and whatnot. And I told them, no, we're gonna build a desert in the backyard. And they were like, what? A desert in the backyard? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm gonna teach you how to build mountains and volcanoes and castles, and you can smash them however you want. Oh man, those 3 little boys are in heaven. They were tickled so big. I literally think they thought they were giant monsters smashing mountains in the desert. It was amazing. And the better part, they'd make their own. Oh, I taught them how, so they'd make their own mountains, and then they'd poke holes in the top and make it a volcano, and then they'd be kicking it and stepping on it, smashing it. And then I showed them how to change the color of the sand, so that way they could fill their little castle cutout thing up, pop it down, and look just like a castle. Oh, their older brother was making castles left and right, while the two younger brothers are smashing them as fast as he can make them. It was so much fun. Yeah, it is cool getting them to work together too, and actually like try and work at the same objective, and like build the stuff to smash this stuff and whatnot. It's so much fun. Like I'm sorry, but little people, kids that age, um, happy, healthy, and spiritual, and they're all spiritual. We're all spiritual. A lot of people don't realize it and deny it, and they're like, no, and it's because they don't understand it, and they feel like they don't have it. And whenever you're the last person joining, you're always no good at it, and yada yada yada. So I get where a lot of people are freaked out in a lot of areas, but at the same time, that's not the case with spirituality. Even if you live a very boring, dull life and you don't see how your spirituality could be anything amazing, you're wrong. Because in that boring, dull life you believe you're living, your spirituality's thriving in ways you wouldn't have thought of. Because it doesn't work like you think. That's not spirituality. So, but, my opinions. And I'm just a guy that's lived life. And I haven't had a easy life, but I gotta say, I never wanted an easy life. I still don't want an easy life. I still want to work and achieve and get things. But I'm a very odd individual. Most people would much rather get things easily than. And personally, I'm a little pissed off my depression went away like the flip of a light switch. It threw me for such a fucking loop, too, that it freaked me the fuck out. I really can't even explain or wonder why I did some of the shit I did. But at the same time, I don't care either. Like, we do stuff at times, especially when we're freaked out. You do stuff. And in my opinion, it's crazier if you don't, and scarier if you don't, because that's pretty fucking weird. So normally, if your world flips up down, you're gonna freak the fuck out. You don't freak the fuck out, start doing some odd shit. I am concerned that your mind might not be working right. But sometimes though, even if you're freaking out on the inside, it's not like anything's acting on the outside. So life's crazy. But this turned into a way longer video than I ever thought it'd be. People actually watch it all the way through. That's pretty cool. I wow. I feel honored, kind of, because that's crazy to watch me ramble on and talk about my life for that long, and random things and stuff I'm saying. But I'm still 40 years young, so I don't feel like I'm 40. Really don't. But I feel normal now, so that's really weird for me too. So I'm probably not a good reference for some things. Same with getting certain things to occur. I'm not a good reference for it because I still don't know how certain things occur or happen. And I personally never want to know. I like random things. I like random shit just happening. I think it's fun. Some people hate it. Some people like to know, what's going to go on in a day, and I can respect that. But it's not for me. Like I'd rather random. Yeah, it's fun. But I get where people get anxiety and freaked out by that shit, because when random shit could happen at any given moment, and you don't know what the fuck's gonna come next, that shit can leave you a little unnerved and a little unhinged, and for some people that's not a good thing. I guess it's really not. So I get I get where, for each of us, I really think that, like, the Marvel movies with the multiverse, like, that's a day to day life. People just don't realize it. That we're all living within our own world, and all our worlds are interacting with one another as we walk around. It's pretty crazy concept, in my opinion, but I think it's pretty legit and real because all of us look at life so differently. That it is like we all are in our own world, interacting with other people in their own worlds. So, but I got a variety of crazy, crazy concepts I cook around in this thing. Even though I really don't know how it cooks yet. I haven't found the temperature gauge either, so I'm not even sure what I'm cooking at. So, I don't know. Maybe why nothing pops out. I gotta actually set the temperature. But yeah, that's more or less my life in a nutshell. It did take longer than I thought it would, but at the same time, I've lived a bit of a life, and I've left out a variety of details. But if I went over every detail, this would be like a 4-hour fucking video. But if you did make it all this way, if anything, I hope that you're catching some spiritual insights and different things that's helping you widen your horizon and what you thought spirituality was or what you thought reality was. Because a lot of what we think things are, we don't have any way to prove that's really how it is. And I understand a lot of people say no, reality is real because it's what we live in. And I agree to a degree because every one of us do have our own views and outlooks on life. And there's not too many that really do line up the same. Otherwise, we would all get along a lot better. Certain people would run or manage things to where everybody gets taken care of better. But, if anything, I guess you could see that in different countries. Different countries have different policies and procedures. Some countries, they take care of the citizens and the individuals much better than other countries. Some countries, it's up to the individuals to make their life however they want to make it. But it's just kind of how it is. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I was born in like a third world country where they still I run around in a fucking leaf and shit, because to me it's so much easier to hunt and gather and just live. And yeah, people think that, well, what about all this other shit to life and blah blah blah, and I'm like, why do you need shit in life to live? Like, I don't understand. I get entertainment, being entertained. I like being entertained myself. I like entertainment. I'm very simple. I'm easily entertained though, so that's where I understand where I don't need a lot of this shit. I could very much just have a stick and a string and a bunch of woods, and I am highly entertained. Hell, there's no telling when I might pull back out of those woods. If anything, half the village probably wouldn't let my ass leave the village, because they'd be like, no, 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 we don't know what that fucker will bring back. Don't let him go anywhere. So that's where for me it's like the fun is out there in the woods. But I did grow up in them as a child too, catching snakes and stuff. So I am a little different. But if anything, I'm different in a good way. So, and I hope, I really do hope a lot of this does help people, widen boundaries. But yeah, if you watch this whole thing though, I really wish I could give you a prize.